Hello, and welcome back to the Next Frontier of AI podcast, where we explore the innovations and the strategies shaping the future of AI. I'm your host, Scott Hebner, here at SiliconANGLE Media and theCUBE Research. Thanks so much for tuning in. Today, we're going to examine one of the most fascinating and frankly transformative shifts occurring across the modern service businesses, the rise of digital labor as an operating model. While anchored in agentic AI, digital labor is considered by most to be a broader phenomenon. Our recent Digital Labor Transformation Index suggests three things. One, the era of digital labor augmentation is inevitable and will occur sooner than most think. Secondly, those who succeed are those who go beyond the technology and reimagine how work actually gets done, involving cross-organizational teams. And interesting enough, few are doing that today, only about 8% that actually include like HR, for example. And finally, most importantly, those that will see the highest ROI aren't the ones just adding chatbots or automating tasks. It's the ones shifting their focus towards knowledge-centered work, AI that performs and plans and collaborates as digital coworkers. This is the type of work that applies knowledge and expertise and judgment to problem solve and to make better decisions. This, in my opinion, is what's going to define the transformative value of what everyone's calling it as the golden age of AI agents, not simply automation to cut costs. Few companies embody this transformation more clearly than Vantaca. The newly minted 1.25 billion unicorn that has redefined what is possible in community management by building a UI first, API first, and AI first SaaS architecture from the ground up, designed with digital labor augmentation in mind. This is the agentic AI in the wild, at scale, in production, delivering measurable financial, operational, and customer outcomes. It is what happens when agentic AI stops being just a technology and becomes a business system. Today, we're joined by Ben Currin, the CEO of Vantaca, to unpack what it really takes to build this type of business and why the market is hungry for this type of transformation. So Ben, let me bring you up here. There you are. Thanks again for joining us.
Yeah, Scott, happy to join and have a conversation today. Thank you for carving out the time to talk to me.
Yeah, I've been eager to talk to you because I think you have one of the most clear success stories so far out there, from at least what I'm seeing in agentic AI and applying not just the technology, but to actually help your clients transform how they work and with real outcomes. So we're going to get into that as we go through here. But anyhow, you had recent appearances on the New York Stock Exchange Wired program and the theCUBE conversations. They were very popular. A lot of people tuned in to see them. But for this audience, can you give us a little bit of a background to get started here on Vantaca and your personal journey to become CEO?
Sure, absolutely. So Vantaca, for anyone who doesn't know, Vantaca, we're a technology provider and a really a platform company in the community association management space. So not obvious what the community association management space is. There's this big industry that is specialized property management around the ecosystem that is community living. And so that's HOA, homeowner association living, condominium association living, co-ops, and not only the management of those properties, but the financial management of those communities. So billing of homeowners, contracting with vendors, management of insurance, management of everything from banking integrations to payments and workflows, architectural requests, kind of everything in between. And so Vantaca is really the system of record for all of those transactions, all of that work, that industry, the system of work for all of that back office work and community level work that's happening. And then the engagement with the community to the board and the management company and the vendors within. And now we're able to do so much of that work with AI. So that's a little bit about Vantaca and what we do and kind of the industry and the ecosystem that we play in. Your other question, Scott, of how the heck did I get here? I think my journey into community association management, much like almost everyone into community association management, is like not a straight line, right? So I didn't grow up in the community association management world like most people didn't. My prior career, I was a nuclear engineer and a submarine officer in the U.S. Navy, and before kind of transitioning into a career in technology. And what was so fascinating to me when I first got introduced to this industry is just how much friction there is in the system of kind of community living. It's this thing that should be so beneficial, but it's hard. It's hard to manage thousands and thousands of homes as a property manager with different rules across different communities that you have to enforce. And all of that to us has just looked like an opportunity to remove friction and add value.
Yeah, and from what, since I've gotten to know you and your business over the last many months, I think your background's perfect for, creating like clear leadership and having a vision, and not just a vision, but a vision that has disciplined execution behind it. And I think that's starting to materialize itself. And you had a really exciting announcement. I think it was in the beginning of November before your vision conference, where you crossed the 1.25 billion of valuation mark, right? Unicorn status, if you will. And partly, I think, fueled by your agentic AI strategy. So when you step back, what do you see as the real drivers of this valuation surge? Is it agentic AI?
Yeah, I think that's a good question. I at least internally, and maybe I'm underappreciating kind of the outside in view of this, but internally, nothing ever felt like a spike. It's felt like maintaining the strain for a lot of years. Like we've had this big vision of what was possible, how we could deliver more and more value over time for our customers. And there have been big leaps forward from technology, and certainly being able to truly take advantage of the innovation that's possible through agentic AI has been the biggest single leap forward that we've been able to take to deliver more and more value to our customers. But we've been really fundamentally innovating and building on our product for years, almost a decade now. And the biggest leap forward has certainly been agentic AI. And, as a company, we're outside the Bay Area. We're headquartered in Wilmington, North Carolina. We haven't been through the many series of funding rounds that others have. We kind of went about our work. We bootstrapped the business along for several years before raising outside money for the first time in 2022. And then recently, it's a good moment to reset and see where we are and capitalize the business further to continue to build for our customers.
Yeah, it was an exciting month for you guys. I mean, I tuned in for a little bit of your conference down in San Antonio, right? And how did that go? I mean, it really looked like a great audience and a lot of really good content.
It was awesome. Well, I'll say two things. One, it's always awesome. It's really fun every year just to get so many of our partners and our customers together, not only for us to make announcements and share best practices and do all that stuff, but there's so much knowledge sharing, especially right now, where so many of these management companies are doing really creative and innovative things through technology, and the peer-to-peer sharing and breakthroughs and kind of just dispersion of knowledge is awesome to see. There's really creative stuff happening right now. And I think in particular for me, what I realized this year is a year ago, we announced at our Vantaca Vision conference in 2024, kind of the partnership of Vantaca and HUAI and the launch of HUAI within Vantaca. And we were excited. That was a big announcement. But just a year later, that has fundamentally changed how so many of our customers operate and really changed the trajectory of their growth. So to see that happen in the span of 12 months is exciting, inspiring, and has me fired up to see what happens next year in November at Vantaca Vision 2026.
Yeah, and I encourage everyone tuning into this. Ben had a great interview on the New York Stock Exchange Rewired program. So if you Google that, you'll go out to a portal. You can see more financial oriented discussion about what's all been going on with Vantaca. But really great conversation. I encourage you all to go watch that also, because I think this is a real success story on what it really takes to be successful. And then in light of being successful, I think you guys have just reached over 1 million AI-enabled workflows in terms of execution, right?
And that kind of that curve has been really fun to watch because a couple things are happening. And so when we talk about agentic workflows completed, it's a workflow that an agent can go execute 100% of, that previously a human would have had to go in. And we've all used workflows in software, and you go in and you approve things and you select steps and you move to the next action. So being able to delegate those results fully to an agent, have the agent pursue those results and get there on their own. We've reached over 1 million unique workflows completed by agents now, which is super exciting. So there's two things. One, more and more of our customers are adopting these agents, but also our customers who had last, January, February adopted one are now adopting 5, 6, 7, 10 plus agentic workflows, kind of workflow types that they can deploy agents into and go really remap big parts of how they execute work in their back office. So it's a big milestone for us, and we're seeing that accelerate. It's kind of a doubling of the number of tasks almost every month now that we're seeing, which is super exciting.
And what I love about you guys, which I think creates a unique leadership kind of position for you guys, is the difference between simple task automation, right, versus the sort of kind of what I'm terming digital labor that your customers are able to experience. When I say your customers, being the management company personnel and probably the people that actually live like in a homeowner association, for example. And to me, the difference between a simple task automation, which is 100% repeatable, it's just coded. There might be some nuances of what you feed in there, but digital labor, to me, especially in knowledge work, there's got to be some degree of mimicking or predicting a judgment to be made, right? And so how do you view the difference between simple automation and what your workflows are able to do in that context?
Yeah, it's a really fun thing to think about, because if we go back, we talked about this at our Vision conference in November. If we go back, less than 10 years, if we go back to 8, 9 years ago, automation and workflow automation was that was it. That was like the cutting edge of what was possible through software. And if you think about it, that's pretty interesting. And if with enough input data, you could say, if this, then that, and you can react to kind of any stimulus, whatever that is, and really complex configurable workflows like we've built in Vantaca are pretty interesting. It can take a whole bunch of different parameters and have a bunch of different pathways that you can go down. But I think at the end of the day, you have to have a finite set of inputs, and you have to be able to put those things into a box for any kind of automation to happen. Like, it's simple if it's a yes or no, right. We'll go above threshold, below threshold. But as we all know, the real world, and certainly, the complex environment of managing communities across many states and in different geographies with different rules and different unique circumstances, and the people are all different. That's not a simple environment at all. That's a very wicked and complex environment. And so you have to be able to apply some sort of judgment and reasoning and taste almost to learn through that. And what we've found is that agentic AI can really do that much in the same way humans can, but agentic AI has this advantage over us, where it's hard for us to remember everything that we've ever done before and remember and instantly access the thousands and thousands of pages of unstructured data that we would have to go look something up and Control F and find a keyword and read that paragraph and go link that back to something else. But agentic AI can really do that. And so you can operate in that wicked environment with speed and precision in a way that humans just aren't built to do. And so I guess that's like the kind of at least high level difference, how I think about automation versus, agentic labor and agentic kind of work.
Yeah, no, I think that's right on. It's not only do we not remember everything. I remember reading a book on how the brain operates, and we do a lot of things as humans that we don't. If you were asked to explain why you did it or how you did it, you wouldn't be able to. It was like intrinsic, right? And AI can kind of decode some of that stuff when done in this agentic manner. Right?
Scott, that you said something that I haven't thought about it exactly in this way. It's kind of cool. It's almost, we do a lot of things based on our gut or based on instinct, and that's that's some reflection of all this past experience, and we've looked it up before, and we remember that you usually have to do these things, and so with the right training and the right kind of trace history of all this data before, agentic AI can sort of do that. It sort of operate with instinct and reasoning and gut, but also with the precision of perfect recall, which is pretty cool. It's it's a pretty unique advantage.
Yeah, then it learns from itself. So I think, simple automation, like provisioning, a new laptop for somebody, or, processing something that has a relatively small set of permutations and combinations, right, is one thing. But when you have, like, we're going to talk a little bit later, I love the HOAI voice thing. To me, you can't code what it may be asked, and it has to it has to make a judgment. And the reason why I think this is important is, let me just show you one of the questions from our Agentic AI Futures Index, which is, and this was about 625 pre-qualified either business or technology leaders in businesses that are already involved in Agentic AI to one degree or another. And when you ask about the next 18 months, what do they envision these agents doing beyond automation? You can see here, right, plan, right, which is formulate a logical sequence of actions, or solve a problem, which starts with diagnosing and kind of understanding root cause and making the decisions. And if you're going to make a decision, you got to kind of explain it to somebody, and ultimately you want these things to act autonomously. Those are pretty big numbers if you think about how early we are in the agentic life cycle, right? I mean, it's only been a year and a half or so.
Yeah.
And so people have the vision that I think you are starting to implement with your customers, which is, great.
Yeah. It's a blast. And it's just the pace of change is so fast too. That's what's so much fun for us and so much fun for our customers.
Yeah. So from your advantage point, what happens to firms in your industry that you're serving that don't adopt agentic AI? With a digital labor mindset and all that. So, I mean, what happens over the next 18 to 24 months if they don't move in this direction?
Yeah, it's a good question. I think at times when you're in the middle of all of this stuff happening, it can feel like, everyone's going to be here tomorrow. Like how, there's this way to supercharge everything we're doing. I don't think it'll be tomorrow, but I think that 18 to 24 month, like there is this seismic shift that's starting to happen. I think that when I look at the last 12 months, I really think that true early adopters, and there are always early adopters in any kind of technology wave, have uncovered something. And it's not just that it's shiny and it's interesting. They've uncovered kind of a unique advantage. And that's been fun to watch. And it's still kind of this quiet thing where we're seeing folks who kind of can't believe they're uncovering the results they're seeing. And it is unique to them. I mean, it's only a small percentage of our industry, and an even smaller percentage of kind of the total services firms across industries that have uncovered and unlocked these advantages. But all of a sudden, when it goes from 2 to 5 to maybe 10% of firms that are really operating like this, that expectation at the customer level will all of a sudden get reset up because they'll have been exposed to this, or firms will be competing with someone who's doing this. And then I think it kind of happens all at once. And I think that's what we're starting to see right now, where everyone is aware that this is out there, and everyone's aware that they need to be doing something. And so pretty quickly, there's going to be this tipping point where it's going to go from there's those early adopters getting, kind of uncovering some unique results and a unique advantage to, oh my gosh, we're being left behind, and everyone is going to have to rush to kind of transform here. And so I think that it's sometime in that next 18 to 24 month window that moment happens. And the pace has continued to blow me away. It continues to accelerate, so it could be faster than that.
Yeah, actually, on around Thanksgiving, I was with a friend, and we were taking a walk, and it was in a homeowner association, right, complex, if you will. And one house had all the Christmas stuff up, and the group got into a conversation about, well, I wonder if that's allowed, right?
Right.
With the HOA, and then another person made a comment saying that it's they're worthless. I call and I'm on hold with this agent, and it doesn't even understand what I'm asking, and you get frustrated and hang up. And I was thinking about you guys, and I mentioned to them, I remember the stats, right? What is it? 27% of people in the United States live in homeowner associations or the sort of places that you're serving.
Yeah.
That's correct. And what were the other numbers? I think it was like 40 million of these. What are the numbers?
Yeah, 30 to 40 million homes in community associations in the US. There's both managed and self-managed, and that, spans across HOAs, condominium associations, co-ops. We're talking 75, 80 million Americans just in the US living here. Most residential real estate that's being built and sold is in a community association. So it's a huge part of our lives and how we live, and it's a huge part of the economy too. And to your point, like, it's hard for humans to handle that type of volume in these kind of specialty firms. So it's a great place for agents to go, again, just remove friction and add value.
Yeah, and they spend billions, right?
Right. That's right.
To get these things going. So
That's
you've
right.
outpaced your competitors in both the adoption of this type of technology and obviously the valuation that we talked about before. So you're outpacing at a pretty rapid rate here. So what is Vantaca doing differently that gives you that defensible advantage in agentic AI?
Well, I'll share a couple things, and I'll share a couple ways I think we got lucky, and a couple ways I think we've been good, or at least been aggressive in our approach. So I think that we really, when we built Vantaca, not quite 10 years ago, we really built it in response to what was limiting in kind of the prior era of legacy software. Like, maybe there was some integration with outside points, maybe some APIs, maybe some workflows, but they were fixed. It was a defined thing, not configurable. Maybe there was some communication out, but there wasn't great two-way communication in. So we really built Vantaca and architected kind of the early versions of Vantaca as a response to that. So configurable workflows that can work the way you work and can be different association to association and firm to firm. And you can add your unique flavor of service through automated workflows, two-way communication, and integration. All of those things have proved to be outstanding advantages in terms of the infrastructure and the environment where AI and agentic AI can be really effective. And so once we realized how important and how game-changing AI would be for our customers and within the environment of Vantaca, we went and said, what else can we do to build the perfect environment to take advantage of everything that is possible and everything that will be possible in the future that we can't contemplate yet with agentic AI. So for us, that meant everything that a human could do through the software, an agent has to be able to be equally as impactful, have access to the same type of information, and really build first for agents and people equally, not agents as a second-class citizen, or agents only with this workflow, or only have access to these unique kind of endpoints. Mm-hmm. And so we've spent a lot of time, and especially in the last 18 months, invested a ton of product engineering resources to build the perfect and curated environment for agentic AI to be most impactful. And so a phrase that you may have heard me say before is, we really think that we have to be UI first for people. Mm-hmm. Like, this is still a software that people are going to need, humans are going to need to go interact with, but also API first, machine to machine, integrated with outside systems, so we can pull in additional data sources and also go out and interact with additional data sources. But lastly, AI first, where agents can do as a first class kind of user anything in the software that a human could, or could be done via API.
Yeah, and I think part of your story that I think is another great decision is, you don't require your customers to rip out what they already have, right? You're just going to build upon it. And that's the API first, right?
Yeah, no, that's right. And what's really interesting too is the workflows, these configurable workflows that were built to provide automation for humans and to basically provide a path for humans to go make decisions and inject kind of human reasoning and decisions into, created the perfect guardrails to deploy agentic AI into, to say, hey, follow this path, follow this configurable workflow, just as a human would go and inject human decisions, and instead reason through those decision points to get to an optimal result. So that structure has really been a unique advantage for our customers and unique advantage for us to be able to deploy agentic AI into the environment of Vantaca.
Yeah, we're gonna have to come up with or at least I guess I'm gonna have to come up with a title for this podcast. But I like this idea. I mean, what you've essentially done, and correct me if I'm wrong here, is you re-architected the company for an AI first operating model, right? It's a digital labor operating model that you are essentially, that's what you're providing in terms of value to your customers, and it's configurable and customizable. It learns your unique environments, and like you said, these different associations operate differently and have different, ways of doing things, and that AI first operating model kind of encompasses that, learns it, and then helps the humans be 10 times more effective, giving them superpowers to do more for their homeowners, right?
That's right, and it's hard. Again, I want to be transparent. We were lucky in some ways that we had the right environment to start. I think with different architectural decisions years ago, we'd be in a much tougher place. We'd have to rebuild so much more. But we started with a really great advantage of the environment and the type of workflows, the type of infrastructure that we had in place to take advantage of this. And then we've really gone all in on creating kind of the ultimate environment to take advantage of what will be possible as agentic AI continues to advance.
Yeah, I agree with you. Well, could you give us like a concrete, before and after example of digital coworkers and how they work with humans to improve the outcome?
Yeah, absolutely. Previously, Scott, we've talked about like the invoicing process. I think something right now that's particularly exciting to me is all things HUAI voice, which is a homeowner facing agent that our customers, managed companies, are providing as a service to their customers, homeowners and residents within these communities. And so we've collected a ton of data since rolling this out over the summer with many of our customers, where we're seeing, up to in some cases, 90% reduction in human time needed to handle phone calls and handle incoming kind of customer volume, because agents can so meaningfully go and handle these things. I think the data that you have on the screen here is a pretty good example. There's some averages on the bottom there, and then there's a specific customer that we went and kind of dug in on here. So pretty interesting. We went from 4,000 calls being handled by humans in a month down to only 1,600. But the time is what's really important. Agents were able to solve so much of the time that we went from 800 human hours on the left down to 66 human hours needed. So, a reduction in 4 human months of labor time. And those folks were not just call center employees. These were folks who had the skills to go out and work with boards and work in communities and deliver so much more productivity. And so not only is there massive cost savings that these phone calls are costing management companies so much less, but it's also a better, faster, and more accurate experience for the homeowners themselves. So this is a great transformational thing where our customers are more profitable and their customers are happier and getting a much better service delivered to them. And so that to me is kind of the ultimate win-win with agentic AI, where you can increase your margins as a management company, but you're delivering a much superior service to your communities and the homeowners and residents that you serve.
Yeah, one of the mantras I've been on is I'm a believer, unlike a lot of the pundits out there, that we look back 3 years from now or so, that AI is actually going to be a net job creator versus reduction in the overall economy. And yes, some of the automation, purely automation oriented kind of roles may go away in a certain percentage of them, but it's going to get refueled by more knowledge worker kind of roles, because there will be more knowledge workers, because AI is going to give them superpowers, and the value is going to shift from redundant automation to knowledge work. And part of your story that I've latched onto is, and again, correct me if I'm wrong here, but I think what I've learned is that your customers, like that example went from 5 full-time headcount, I think, to 0.4 or 1.4, but they're not cutting people, right? They're now having them deal with higher value things, like actually dealing with the people that live there, correct?
Yeah, it's been pretty neat, and I think we're pretty lucky that we're seeing a lot of explosive growth for our customers as well. Like our industry's going, and our customers are really winning within the industry. So most of our customers are, one of the problems that they always have is, can we find enough great staff? And so they're giving superpowers to the team they have. They're growing, they're adding 1, 2, 10,000 doors without having to go hire additional employees on their team, but their employees are so much more productive and so much more engaged in the community. So that's great. I think there's certainly times where people have repurposed folks, or when there's been turnover on a team, they realize, hey, we don't have to backfill this role. We don't we aren't feeling the strain of someone retiring or someone going out on leave or something like that. So I agree with you, Scott. I think there's so much demand for better and greater service and more consumption of more from management companies in this industry, that we're seeing our customers deliver more services and more value to these communities rather than just reducing staff count.
Yeah, I mean, I think the smart companies are going to take the cost savings and they're going to reinvest it to grow and to do new innovations and improve customer service, as you were mentioning there, versus just take it for cost savings. And I think those that just take it for cost savings are going to not do well as an aggregate going forward. So all this fear about AI taking everyone's jobs, and I think like past technology transformations, it's likely to be a net provider over time.
Right.
But we'll see. All right. Well, last question here before we have to wrap. So I always like to ask this question. Looking ahead, right? And you mentioned and alluded to before that you had your 2024 Vision Conference with the big announcement of HOAI, and you made tremendous progress. And you just had your conference last month, so in November of 2025. So look ahead a year from now, and we're talking again, right? What do these agentic community management systems look like, right? The ecosystem, the customers. In other words, where do you plan to push next? What's the next frontier do you think you're likely to be talking about next year at this time?
Yeah, I think we're already seeing a lot of this start to happen. And so I'll comment of where I think it's going, but also like what we're seeing right now. We're starting to see that no longer are we having to, so much of what a community management company does is respond to requests, a billing question, an inquiry for this. Instead of being reactive to all these things, you can agentically go meet these homeowners and residents with resolutions at the point of engagement. And so kind of proactively going out and resolving these issues before before they become requests or before they become an email, before they become a phone call. I think that's one thing. And what we're starting to see the best and the most cutting edge management companies do is go and say, okay, well, now how can we enhance the community experience? How can we go deliver more to residents in these communities that we never have before because we've been so busy executing billing and answering questions? And so I think there's a lot more consultative community management that is starting to happen to really help boards, help homeowners improve their community, invest for the future, think about proactively, what do we need to do to really proactively welcome new people into the community and get them up to speed. So there's all this goodness that's coming. I think that effectively the kind of anchor that has always been the back office repetitive tasks that have kept management companies from being able to do those things has really been lifted in a lot of ways by being able to deliver so much agentic resolution there, that we'll see a much higher level of resident engagement, much higher level of proactive community management across the board. And we're seeing it now. I think next year we'll be pretty blown away by some of the gains that management companies are experiencing.
Yeah. Well, Ben, your story illustrates what I think is a critical truth that I think we're likely to see spread across, pretty much all the industries over time, which is agentic AI just doesn't transform a business until the business actually wants to transform itself and sort of reimagine what work really means. And so it's likely that the organizations leading the next decade will be ones that shift from this idea of it's about automation to it's really about knowledge-based digital labor and augmenting your humans to give them superpowers. And then from there, those workflow sort of architectures evolve into decision intelligence architectures where people can make better judgments. And I really think you guys at Vantaca and everything you're doing under your leadership really stand out as an example of that shift, right? So, Ben, I really appreciate you taking the time to join us today.
Yeah, always fun. Scott, thank you for having me. Enjoyed the conversation.
Yeah, congratulations again on the milestone. What a great year, and I look forward to staying in touch and tracking what you guys are doing.
Absolutely. Thanks,
and you bet. And for everyone listening in, thank you again for being part of the next frontiers of AI. Be sure to subscribe so you don't miss upcoming episodes. Until next time, I am Scott Hebner. Thanks again for watching. We'll see you on the next round.